Western media headlines, as usual, are as follows. 25% of Indians live less than $1 a day, and 70% live less than $2 a day. Let's examine this issue of poverty, mainly in terms of slums in Indian cities and its relationship to the betterment of economic conditions. So first of all, what causes these slums in the cities in the first place? It is a vicious cycle of intense population growth. Opportunities in the cities, for example, the leading migration to the cities. Second, poverty with low incomes. And third, the tendency to be closer to work. The main reason out of all these is the slow economic process. After the independence in 1947, commercial and industrial activity needed cheap labor in the cities. Plentiful were available in the rural areas, so most people were encouraged to come to the cities and work. These people brought their families and cousins to the cities to work. Unable to find the housing and to afford it, they decided to build shelters closer to work. This first started out with one shelter, but then the number of slums being built began to increase greatly, going from 2 shelters to 2,000 and 10,000s of shelters. Although the government still provided electricity and drinking water to them, politicians looked at the slums as a vote bank. More slums developed as more population grew. In today's episode, we will have a few guests who currently live in Indian slums in the cities of Mumbai and Kolkata, and have them tell us a bit about the conditions living in them, as well as the reasons people flock to these slums for opportunity. First up is a working single mom, Naima Kumar. How is it life like living in slums, miss? Now we'll connect to the Indian studio.
My name is Naima Kumar and I'm a single working mother of 2 children living in Mumbai. My husband died from a parasitic disease. My father originally moved here from the countryside in the hopes of giving my siblings and I a better future. He hoped to become rich and successful and eventually move to New Delhi. However, a few months after moving here, my mother became sick with circulatory problems and eventually died. Afterwards, it became impossible for my dad to earn money for my brother, my sisters, and me. Thus, we have been stuck in the slums for years now. Although everyone here wants to earn money and move somewhere cleaner and safer, we can't.
So can you describe your life at the slums and perhaps shed some light on what slums are?
When people think of India, they inevitably think of slums. People who have never been to India talk about the slums, but they know what it's like to live here. They talk about the poverty, the lack of sanitation, and whatnot. They talk as if they know what my life and the lives of my neighbors are like. However, I'm here to say that they don't. They do not know how horrible it is to live in the slums. What they see when they come to visit the slums is only half of the suffering that goes on.
So what are the main problems that exist? Why do these problems exist?
There are so many problems that plague the slums. As I've already mentioned, disease is a huge problem. My mother and my husband were just 2 out of the many people who have died because of disease. I think that the 2 main causes of all of these diseases are the lack of sanitation and the lack of fresh, clean water. Although I know that the water we drink, bathe, and wash in is horrible and filled with many contaminants, I cannot do anything because it's the only water we have. Our living conditions are horrible as well. We live on dirt floors and there is no ventilation in our houses. We also have no place for excretion, which causes a lot of problems.
Currently, India has the 2nd largest population in the world. However, it has been said that India will soon have more people than China because China's government enforced a one-child policy, while the government in India is doing nothing to curb the population. How is this affecting the slums?
Another big problem is the number of people here, as you just mentioned. The populations of slums have skyrocketed, and the government has not been helping us in any way. They don't find the need to curb the slum population. We don't have enough resources as it is, and the increase in people is making everything worse. We don't have enough food, enough water, enough of anything.
It is horrible to hear this.
I want a better future for my children. It hurts me to send my kids off to work instead of school. I hope to get out of the slums soon.
Thank you, Ms. Kumar. I hope things will get better. I have faith that you will find happiness soon. Next up, we have someone who has lived in the slums for most of his life. He is here today to talk about some of the good aspects of the slums. Hello.
Hi.
So tell us a little bit about you and your experience in the slums.
Slum for most of my life, and I wouldn't change it for much else in the world. I'm originally from the village of Kaushambi. Back home I had no future to look forward to. I came from a farming family and would have remained a farmer had I stayed in the countryside. I heard that people could find good work in the cities, better opportunities. Things aren't exactly what I imagined, but it was worth it. I found work in a textile factory, and even though it isn't the best job, I earned about twice as much as I would have back home. My wife found work as a cleaner for a rich family in the city. With the money, we were able to send our 3 children to school, and now all of them have better lives.
In general, what is your opinion about these slums? Can you tell more positive aspects of them or more negative aspects?
Problems in these slums, but it isn't all that bad. It's not like we're living in some refugee camp, waiting for help. All you hear about in the Western media is about disease and starvation and lack of proper housing. What you don't hear about as often is that many of us have color TV, refrigerators, and even radios. The government doesn't offer us much in services, but they turn a blind eye and let us divert power from all these electric cables running through the slums. My friend earns his living off of helping people hook up to such cables. Because of the black market here, I can probably get electronics and other luxury goods more easily than the middle class in the city.
What is the one thing that's so good about the slums that you live in?
We all sacrifice and work hard. The government doesn't help us out much, so we've all learned to help each other instead. One family's home was in need of repair, but the state of the house was so bad it had to be knocked down. We all pitched in together to help rebuild it. People offered materials at cheap prices and others offered to work for free. That's what everybody here does. We share, donate, and work together to survive, even though we come from all over the country. You should come by sometime around the religious holidays. Everybody comes outside to light fireworks and everybody sings and dances and is happy. Most people here had to leave their homes in the countryside, but we've made this our new home now.
So, I heard you're the so-called, the very good-looking beggar mafia. How do people start their lives? Any anecdotes that you can tell us?
Hey, my name is Rahul Sengupta, but no one really calls me by my real name except for my boss. Everyone else calls me the really good-looking mafia, mostly because I told them to and because they fear me. So what were you wondering about? You wanted to know about my life in Mumbai. Well, let me tell you, this is the life. I never lived anywhere else other than India, but I know there is no life better than mine. I can live my life any way I want to. Drugs, guns, powers, prostitute, money, you name it. You know the movie called Slumdog Millionaire? Yeah? It was pretty famous a few years ago. Well, you remember the main character's older brother. He was the badass mafia kind of guy. You remember how at the very end, right before he was shot to death, he was in this bathtub full of money? Well, I do that every morning after I wake up.
Wow, really? You really must have some fortune. Tell me, Raul, how did you end up making so much money?
Well, you know, look at me. I'm a mafia. Well, of course, all mafias aren't as successful as I am. I'm just one really smart mafia. Here, I'll let you in a secret. Do you know what the population in India is? 1.2 billion. Most people already know that. But what they don't know is how many of them are parentless, helpless, jobless children. Do you know how many? 300,000. That's almost 500,000. And of course, to be successful, you have to use the resources around you. And for me, that was the children in Mumbai in poverty. Like I said, they were hopeless. They wouldn't have survived another day if I didn't save them. Here, talk to Amir and Naima over there. I'm sure they'll let you know how I saved their lives.
Amir and Naima, can you answer this question? I'm wondering how you came to work for Raul in the first place.
Hi, my name is Amir. I don't remember too well, but I think I ran away from my home when I was 12 because my mother died and my father constantly beat me when he was drunk. I came to Mumbai because that's where all the rich tourist people came. but no one gave me anything, and I was starving. That's when Rahul and his friends came and gave me some cake and candy. They told me that they would help. I thought they were social workers or something to help me start my life again. I later found out, but the food they gave me were drugged. And when I woke up, I was in the hospital, and I was missing an arm. I was missing an arm. The doctor told me I would be okay and gave me some medicine, but I later found out that those drugs were also drugged to keep me under control. Since then, I became a drug addict, and a drug addict with a missing arm. I really couldn't do anything else other than beg for money and depend on Rahul to feed me. I make more money than many other friends who aren't missing any legs or arms, but still, most of the money I make, which is around 40 pounds, 80 bucks, Rahul takes anyway. And when I don't make the 80 bucks, Rahul always beats me and sometimes tortures me. But he gives me drugs afterwards anyway, so I guess I'm okay. What? Don't believe what Amir is saying. He can't think straight because of his opium addiction. Besides, the doctor who amputated Amir's arm was 100% certified, and I paid him extra expensively. Amir should be thankful that I didn't just hire a regular fraud to do it for him. Ask Naima. She'll explain it better. Hello, my name is Nahima. As long as I can remember, I've always grown up with Rahul. Rahul even calls me his own daughter. But my friends usually tell me that he just stole me from a hospital when I was an infant. Since then, for 16 years, I've been earning money for Rahul just as a prostitute. I don't like it, but there's nothing really I can do. There's no way I can escape from this life, and when I seek help from others by going to police officers, there really is no use. I heard Rahul and his friends make more than $45 million a year, and many of the Mumbai police officers are bribed and on their side. And because of that, when I asked them for help, I'm in return beaten and severely punished. And they just turn blind eyes to the fact that more than 44,000 children are abducted and in the same situation as Amir and me. I just don't know how they can live on with that and how helpless we are. I tried so hard, but all my attempts have failed, and in return I've just been beaten brutally and even tortured. I guess now that I stopped trying to escape, they don't beat me anymore, and they continue to give me drugs, so I can't say I'm not happy anymore.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was it for today's show called Econ Talk Show. Hope you gained some insight about India's slum. Remember, there are still thousands of people living in these poor slums who need your help. Our GovEcon Talk Show is offering you guys a chance to be a helping hand. Just call to 1588 1588, and this call can get 2 bottles of water to 2 separate children. Thank you for your time today, and see you next week.